Welcome to
Two Bucks Rock Productions.
To be transferred to the Two Bucks Rock Show with
Jazza.
press 1. For access to the transferring.
Well, it's party season here at Two Bucks. You had your present in the last show. Whole album for £2.99. Of that quality? Well, what more could you ask for? Well, what about a party to go with it? Now that's what I'm talking about in this show. A party, you say? What could be better than a party? How about 2 days, 2 parties? That sounds good enough for me. 18 bands. Now we're starting to get somewhere. How about we throw in top quality headliners for each night? Now we're talking. We're also going to dedicate a little bit of a charity drive while we're there, so take some change. There will be buckets for you to throw your money into. That will be going to the Headbangers Balls. They had some phenomenal bands last year. They've got some phenomenal bands this year. And my t-shirt still glows in the dark. How great is that? Right, now I've got you all dribbling down the front of your t-shirts. I'm going to make it even worse. The whole shebang, the 2 days, the 18 bands, they're going to cost you nothing. Absolutely nothing at all to get in to watch. How do we do it? I have no idea. Beats the absolute crap out of me. I'm just glad we can do it. We do for the love of the music, to be honest. The scene, the whole thing, it needs to be dragged back up from its knees. And I think the fact that the bands are quite willing to do this for very little pay, in some cases, in fact a lot of cases, for no pay at all, just a little bit of help getting to and from. This is the way we're going to have to do it, to build people's interest back up in coming out and watching live bands, as opposed to that rubbish that you're getting on the telly. And the radio, you know, mainstream radio at the moment is absolute cobblers. And it is beginning. When we've got enough interest and the venues that we're using are making enough money to know that they're not going to go out of business, they'll start paying the bands. They pay the bands, we get more people to come and watch. It's a vicious circle, and we are slowly breaking it. And that's down to you guys that are turning up to watch the bands, and the bands that are turning up to play, knowing that eventually it's going to be a good enough scene for them to get the money that they deserve. And who knows, these little events might eventually turn into festivals. So let me tell you about this party, as it is at the moment. It's been held on Friday the 20th and Saturday the 21st of June. It's not that far away. And all you need to do is find your way to the Doll's House in Abertillery. So if you're not local, I'd start fishing around on the internet now for some cheap accommodation, because you want to be there for the 2 days, just so you can tell your friends and family that you survived Hard and Heavy 7. Yes, 7. This is the one that Vinny is calling the Stormbringer. And it will be indoors, just in case. So this wouldn't be a heads up show if I wasn't going to be playing all the bands that we got on the bill. Would it really? Otherwise I wouldn't be doing it. So I'm going to play a track from each band that plays in order on Friday and then on Saturday, with the exception of the headliners. I'm going to save those till last. Oh, why not? They are pretty big headliners. So we'll do them right at the end. And the bands that are supporting the headliners haven't gone on in any order at all. So there's no, we start with a weaker band and head on up through the stronger bands to get to the headliners. This is basically a case of we don't have any stronger bands, we don't have weaker bands. We just put the bands on as we can. So don't be thinking I'll just turn up later on to catch the better bands, because they're all brilliant. So the order's random. Somebody has to start. So let's tell you who's starting Stormbringer. It's in June, there shouldn't be any thunder. Kicking the whole thing into life will be Revenant. Anna Williams, Stuart Fowler, Andy Bevan, and Matthew Davis. These are the guys that will be dragging you kicking and screaming into 2 days of rock and metal delirium. Ladies and gentlemen, start your engines. This is Silhouette.
Discontent, your eyes boring through me. It's not a secret to know. I feel your ignorance, your judgment upon me. It's not the truth until you're telling me so. You say that you've got everything you need and nothing that you don't want. That's not the truth, I know. You think that I need everything you have and nothing that completes me. That's not the life I chose. I see your silhouette, your shape in the shadows, your cruel world as it turns. I hear your stories and I watch your deceit as it grows. Your fire is lit by the lives you burn. You say that you've got everything you need and nothing that you don't want. That's not the truth, I know. You think that I need everything you have and nothing that completes me. That's not the life I chose.
So that's Silhouette. You're going to know the party started when that hits you. That'll be Revenant starting proceedings. And all the bands are getting 45 minutes at least to show you what they've got. And I'd like to think you know at least one track by pretty much all of the bands that will be appearing. There are a few bands on there that I haven't heard tracks from, but I will be hearing them. One of the bands doesn't have any tracks at the moment. They're a fairly new band and they have nothing mastered, so we won't have anything to play. But they will be getting a big feature in the Two Bucks Rock Show as soon as I have a track from them. But they're from Saturday's playlist. I'll tell you more about that when we get to that. And I have to say, the band that are taking over from Revenant, I have a bit of a soft spot for. Don't like picking favourite bands as such out of a huge great lineup which is as good as this one. But what I will say is that I've seen them live a few times and they've never failed to impress me yet. They are the Texas Flood, Tom Williams, Tom Sawyer and Ben Govier. Don't ask them about the new album. when you see them there, because we're all trying to pretend we don't really care too much about it. I have no fingernails left. This is from the Worth the Whiskey EP. It's called Living on the Edge. So, that's Texas Flood. Second band on. By now, you'll have had a couple of beers. It'll be getting on for 8 o'clock. Show opens at 6, so you'll be getting 45 minutes of music and a 15-minute change round. Right, next up, a band that are rumoured to be so loud that even Lemmy needs to wear ear protection when he listens to them. They are Andy, Tony, Simon and Gaz, the constituent members of Spiral Dive. Recently, I've been playing tracks from their new EP, but for this show, I'm going back to the groovy bass line opening of Grinder. So, 3 bands in. I'm already expecting that the Doll's House in Abertillery will have problems keeping up with the amount of drink that they need to be pumping out. Let's make that happen. They're not charging anything for you to be there. The least you can do is make them some profit over the bar. Right, who's up next at Stormbringer? Oh, I can wait. Have you bought a note from your mum? As I was saying, next up on the list, we're going to be dropping the tempo a little bit with some fantastic rocky blues. Oh, I absolutely love this band. They're called Crowsaw. They're Rob Lomax, Glyn Mason and Elvin Robinson. And if you haven't heard their album, Smoke and Feathers, I suggest you at least find someone that's got a copy and have a listen to it, and then go and buy it. I'll tell you what, I got a copy of it. Have a listen to this then. And another bass-led track, I think. Digging the bass at the moment. This is called Bitch Blues.
me down. And that old woman, she likes to knock me around. Likes the bottle, you know it makes her mean. She get crazy as you've ever seen. Where will you be tonight? Where will you go? Where will you be tonight? Leave me alone, yeah, yeah. When will I ever be free?
Oh, hell yes. I think that deserves another one of these. That is Crowsaw, with the most excellent bitch blues. You will find that on that album, Smoke and Feathers. You find plenty of their stuff on SoundCloud, actually, and YouTube. So when you've listened to the show, go and find it. Right, now as Friday's a fairly short day as far as our party's concerned, obviously due to work commitments and such like, you will only be getting 5 support bands. So this will be your final Friday act for this part of the show. They're travelling all the way down from Coventry to come and do this show for you, so you best show them some support. They are Trev Goddard, Andy Tite, Martin Hughes and Gav Hunt, but you can call them Black Star Bullet. You can also see them at the SOS Festival this year, 19th and 20th of July. That's at the Radcliffe Centre in Manchester. £10 for a single day or £15 for the 2 days. Bit of a bargain, really. They'll also be at Aces High Festival. That's the 4th and 5th of October. That's at the Doghouse in Nottingham. And that's also £10 for a ticket on the door, or £8 in advance, or £15 on the door for the weekend ticket. And you'll get those at £13 if you buy them in advance. Oh, Saturday you've got Emperor Chung headlining, and Sunday's Massive Wagons. So that'll give you some ideas if you like what you hear at the Doll's House. Right, let's get you a track from Black Star Bullet. This is from their self-titled album. It's a track called The Game. Oh, no, you're early. Sorry. This is Black Star Bullet with The Game. Black Star Bullet, rounding the night off, taking us up to the headliners. And as I said at the beginning of the show, I'll be playing the headliners at the end of this show, not in the middle. Don't want to be giving the game away too early, do we? So, that's day 1 of Hard and Heavy Fest 7, The Stormbringer. Now! Oh, you just can't get the stuff. How on earth did I think this was a good idea? We started you off 6 o'clock Friday night with Revenant. They gave way to Texas Flood. Spiral Dive stepped up for spot 3. Crowsaw came in at band 4. And that was Black Star Bullet, taking us into the headline act. All will be revealed at the end of the show. So, let's get on with day 2. Saturday morning with your hangover. And I can't think of a better way of fighting off a hangover than to have it assaulted by a huge greasy breakfast. And then 5 absolute nutters from Lincoln to turn up, wrench your brain clear out of your ear holes, wipe the cobwebs out and poke them back in. Those guys will be Ash Harvey, Nige M. Laidlaw, and as I said before, if it's important enough for him to put M on Facebook, it's important enough for me to include in the show. Harley Stevenson, Ben Tyler, and Connor the Connoisseur Black. They are Smack Handle, and you're some lucky people. This is Word, from the present that I told you about at the beginning of the show. £2.99 to download this album, with physical copies anytime now.
Machine, the fight for survival, the rats who feed makes the air run thick and the blood run thin. This choice. I don't have a voice. I don't wanna die. It's me and you, let's say you try. I don't have a choice. I don't have a voice. I don't wanna die. It's me and you, let's see you try. I don't have a voice. I don't have a choice. I don't wanna die. It's me and you, let's see you try. I don't have a choice. I don't have a voice. I don't wanna die. It's me and you, let's see you try.
So there you are, completely devoid of cobwebs. They go on at 1 o'clock, so you should have by then had your greasy breakfast. And by 1:45, once they've finished their set, you will be fully awake. I can promise you that. Next band up, 15 minutes later, used to be 300 Degrees Red. John Virgo, Matt Sterry and Aaron Hopkins decided to go off on a different tangent. They recruited Morgan Jones and Josh Matthews. They are now We Come From Ashes. The first time I actually saw them in action was at a rehearsal. They were at their lock-up, and I went along to take some photos for them. Just snapshotty type things. Just a couple of photos to get up on Facebook to get their page started. Although I have to say, I think the other photographer that was there with a much higher quality camera did a better job than I did. But it was nice to be invited along, and they were already sounding great then. I had seen John Virgo in action previously, at the Two Pigs actually. The last Suicide Watch gig I went to see, he'd gone back, sort of almost like a guest vocalist, back to his old band, to help out after Damo had left. And of course he's a huge part of the Two Bucks team. All the publicity, the posters and all that sort of stuff, all run through John. Still running on demos at the moment for We Come From Ashes, but as I've always said, a demo will give you exactly what you're going to get on stage. None of the fancy polishing and such like that they do when you have them all mastered. So here you go, this is We Come From Ashes. This is actually the track that they were working on at that rehearsal when I first heard them. It's called Rage.
Just won't stop. My head hurts. Inside stops. Seeing red. Oppression's on. Lost my mind. Something's wrong. Rage is blowing through my veins.
Well, if the breakdown in that doesn't get a circle pit started, I don't know what will. So we come from ashes, rage. And you know a band is dedicated to what it's going to do. If its first ever gig is supporting Hellbound and Screamer, you don't take on a gig like that if you haven't got the confidence to pull it off. The guys have no fear. Now, as with the Friday, Saturday is completely free. But don't forget to take some spare shekels, because I think I probably mentioned this earlier on, if you were listening. We have chosen this event to raise money for Headbangers Balls. They were brilliant last year. They're going to be brilliant again this year. And you can be instrumental in making this year's an even bigger success. It's a cause that everybody has been touched by. Cancer is an absolutely brutal disease, but we are making inroads into it. There are a lot of people now surviving cancers of all types. And the more money that we can raise, the more research we can fund. So I'll tell you what, occasionally throughout the weekend, drop the pint, have a pint of water. It'll do you absolutely no harm. It might save you from making a complete idiot of yourself. And the money that you would have spent on those few pints can go into the charity bucket. Right, well, I feel like I've been talking long enough now for them to actually change the stage over for the next band. And the next band are Black Forge. They're a power trio from Frome. There you got Matt Walpole, Chris Pillmore, and their new drummer, Max Dowding. The guys will take loads and loads and loads of different metal styles and blend them all together. And this is what you get. It's a sort of rock and metal smoothie. Pretty much made up of beer, razor wire and gravel. So if you're not at the bar and you're not looking for the bucket to chuck some money into, you should be right in front of the stage. This is Black Forge. It's a track called I Am the Dark.
I carve out your sin. From within, as I carve out your sin.
So that's Saturday's third band, Black Forge. I done you into a false sense of security there at the beginning of that track. Now this is the point in the show where I have to miss out a band. I did say at the beginning that one of the bands doesn't have any tracks recorded yet for us to play. And this are they. They're called Beneath the Divide. And they're Jason, Kev, Tim and Barney from Chepstow. And according to their Facebook page, what you can expect to be hearing is a sort of mixture between classic heavy rock, stoner and doom metal. And I have to say, I like the sound of this. So if anybody could remember to take some video footage or something along those lines on stage for me, just a phone will do. Just give me an idea. We can get that listened to. If it's good enough quality, I'll see if I can rip the audio out of it and maybe use it in one of the shows. Obviously subject to the guy's approval. Okay, moving swiftly on. You don't want me doing too much rambling in between the music. So, stepping up to the plate next, from Swansea, will be another relatively new band. They go by the name of God Killer. Made up of members of Psychedelic Doom Nerve, Jägermong, Bad Moon Rising, and Black Tamanus. They're not going to be playing hair metal, are they? I can imagine their 45-minute set is probably going to take 5 or 6 songs. You gotta love a bit of doom metal, you really have. So, Hard and Heavy Fest 7, The Stormbringer. Presents for your delectation God Killer with a track called End It.
No!
And that is why you have to love a bit of doom metal. By the time your internal organs have stopped shaking, everybody's friends again. Right, you will then have 15 minutes to wait for the next band. The next band being a favourite band of mine, have been for a while. I first saw them at the Brunswick, at Heaven and Hell. I'd been playing them on my show for a little while before that, and I was mightily impressed with the tracks that they sent me to start with. But the new stuff is just phenomenal, even more thought-provoking, and even more musically refined. I will, hopefully, see them all again at Altfest, but that's to be decided. They are Brian Small, Jay Franklin, Tony Hampton and Aaron Beard. 44 Fires. I have a tendency to stick to one track when I'm playing 44 Fires just because it's my favourite track. So I think I'm going to switch that up a little bit today. Instead of playing Freedom, I'm going to play Army Beside Me.
Every day, you pledge allegiance to the
So that's the more grungy sound of 44 Fires. Can't accuse us of being samey, can you really? Right, taking over from 44 Fires in this little extravaganza of free music that you're getting. Well, apart from all the money that you're throwing into the Headbangers Ball charity bucket and the merch table. Got a band that need absolutely no introduction. But introduce them I will. They are Dax Partridge, Lewis Allen, Kurt Nash, Tom Heelan and Jamie Gill, the members of Kai Decker. And Kai Decker are also doing the Out of the Ashes festival this year alongside one of the Friday bands, Spiral Dive, and the main support for this gig, Reign of Fury. That's going on the 11th, 12th and 13th of July at Ellesmere Port. Well worth checking out. So, here are Kai Decker. This is a track called Prerequisite.
Prerequisite
Whoosh, that's Kai Decker with their prerequisites. Well, there's only a couple of bands left now, and then the two headliners that I've been saving up till the end. And a very special guest band will be taking the stage afterwards just to finalise everything. Now, as if we haven't spoiled you enough with the bands that we've put on already, make way for some heavy hitters. From Worcester, Julian Jenkins, Alistair Davis, Martin Trail and Jack Beasley. They are Fury. I've had the pleasure of seeing them a few times now live, and they are phenomenal. Oh, and any of you guitarists in the audience need to go and have a chat with Alistair Davis, the drummer, afterwards. Ask him about the new range of amplifiers that his company are making. They look remarkable. I've yet to hear one, but I'm sure if they sound as good as they look, they'll be worth absolutely every penny. Now, as it goes for tracks from Fury, they actually have a new album due out very, very soon. But I have to say, last time I saw them, they played an awesome novelty tune, which, in my opinion, after a few beers, could easily save your life. Sometimes, when you get drunk, things become a little bit serious. Misunderstandings happen, and things can take a bit of a downward turn. You can't feel down at all after a track like this. This is Fury's version of Drunken Sailor. So that's Fury with Drunken Sailor. If that doesn't put a smile on your face while they're playing it, you need to throw more money into the charity bucket. And then get another beer. Because 15 minutes after the Fury set will be this year's main support. And the main support band for this year's Hard and Heavy Fest. And the reason, in my opinion, that it is the Stormbringer. Are also the reason that you'll throw money into charity buckets. The band responsible for Headbangers Balls: Bison, John, Ed, Magic Dave, and taking over the bass from my good friend Matt, Andy Pilkington, the Sarge. They are Reign of Fury. Be chucking money into the bucket like lunatics while they're on stage. They are currently working on some new tracks. So while we're waiting, This is a track from their legendary album, World Detonation. This is The Hound.
When
Hell's teeth, if you're not frothy by the end of that, there's something wrong with you. Okay, so that's all the support bands played. Let's just do a slight recap then. Start off on Friday. Starts at 6 o'clock. That'll be Revenant. Then Texas Flood, Spiral Dive, Crowsaw, Black Star Bullet, and your headliners for Friday, with their very own completely unique style of 70s sleaze rock. Oh, Gaz Harris, Iggy, Jeff, and Kenny. They are the Gypsy Pistoleros. That's a hell of a way to finish a Friday night off. So this is Gypsy Pistoleros. This is their new single. You can find it on iTunes, all the good places. Please do, go and download it. This is Dirty Side of Midnight. So that's the Gypsy Pistoleros, Dirty Side of Midnight. If you haven't gone to bed covered in beer after jumping around even to just that track, then you've been doing something wrong. And that's Friday the 20th taken care of. Saturday the 21st for you. That all kicks off at 1 o'clock with Smack Handle. You then have We Come From Ashes, Black Forge, Beneath the Divine, God Killer, 44 Fires, Kai Decker, Fury, Reign of Fury, and then the headline act for Saturday won't be the final act. I know it's odd, but there is a very special guest band playing at the end. So Saturday night's headline band. They first started in 1993, but then split up in 1998. They were known then just as Warlord. Now they've reformed. And found that there's another band in America that have already taken the name Warlord. So they've taken on Warlord UK. They are Mark White, Lee Foley, Brooksy, and Kevin Bartlett, who's doing a fine job as their stand-in session drummer. And they have agreed to come along and brutalise your ears. And don't forget, this is costing you absolutely nothing for the whole 2 days. You can also catch them on the 28th of June, where they're playing with Gargantua, Shebrew, Spiral Dive, and From Eden to Exile. That'll be at the O2 Academy in Birmingham. You will have to pay for that one, unfortunately. So, here is Warlord UK, brutalising you with a track called Age of Extreme. So that's your lineup for Hard and Heavy 7, the Stormbringer. Last time you'll be hearing that. Oh, apart from the very special guest band that I told you were coming on to take the stage after Warlord UK. They are South Wales's down-tuned giants of doom metal. Scriv, Webb, Leroy, Sam, and the Wardinator. They are Lifer. So before I leave you with the final track from Lifer, I'd just like to say thank you to all of the bands for doing this for us. On behalf of everybody in Two Bucks Productions, have the best time of your lives while you're there. Drink, buy merch, donate to the Headbangers Balls charity, and above all else, my extended metal family. Be excellent to each other. I'm going to leave you with Lifer. It's a track called Long Time Dead. Thank you for listening.